Yes, fight fans, good evening. Jay's Fight Talk here with my No Punches Pulled and Straight Talk co-host Liam Tully, Statman, the host over on Liam Tully's Sweet Boxing Science. How are we this evening, brother?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. I'm all good. Obviously, a busy weekend in both boxing and UFC, and we've been looking forward to touching base on it. Obviously, Spurs probably over-delivered on what we were expecting, and whilst possibly the main event and the co-main in the UFC under-delivered, the card as a whole gave us another classic November MSG night, didn't it?
Loved it. I loved it. I mean, a lot of people are disappointed in the main and the co-main, but it went arguably as it should have done.
Yeah.
Weili Zhang is too small for that weight division, and Jack Della Maddalena's wrestling and defensive wrestling is streets and bounds below that of Islam. So but look, we'll go in order. We'll start in London at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium Saturday evening. Saw the eagerly anticipated. I say that in air quotes. We didn't really clamber for it, but we got excited as it built up to fight night. And all in all, even though I'm somewhat disappointed, not in Chris Eubank Jr., but I'm disappointed in what Chris Eubank Jr. had left to offer. But understandably, we would do that for a tenth of what he got paid, pretend that we had what was left to fight. Apparently he got £10 million in terms of purse. That's outside of sponsorships and whatnot. So you can understand why he took the fight. Should he have took the fight? Maybe not. But we'll come to the main event. Let's start further down the card. Earlier on in the night, in front of about 15 people, Ishmael Davis challenged Sam Gilley for the Commonwealth 154 belt, and the vacant 154 British Lonsdale Championship was also on offer in a nip and tuck fight, and a lot of people had Ishmael Davis losing that fight because Sam Gilley is sort of the poster boy for that promotion in that division. He's a highly touted prospect and is a Spurs fan. It was in his home ground as such, and a lot of people that I spoke to expected him just to be able to turn up. And I didn't. I picked Ish Davis to win this on points. I'd said to you guys at No Punches Pulled, I think we all picked. I think you picked, I did. I'm not sure if Sam did. I might be wrong, but there was one where all three of us went for the same result. I had Ishmael Davis by points, and he won on points, and he ticked a lot of boxes for me in that. Patience, decent punch selection, heart, grit, determination, dog. Because round 9 of that fight, he looked like he was ready to literally fall over. And coming off the back of 3 high-profile losses. I thought he nicked the Ajako fight. I'm going to be honest. He's from local to me, but he's not a friend. I've backed against him when he beat my friend and family, Troy Williamson. So, I had no dog in that fight. But I wanted Ishmael to win because everything was stacked against him. What's your take on the fight, mate?
Look, Sam Gilley, 3 rounds into that fight. I've watched it back retrospectively as I've done with all of Saturday's action. I had Gilley 3-0 up after the first 3 rounds, and you're looking at that going, okay, if he stays on the back foot and picking Ish off like he is, this could be, unfortunately, a pretty boring but
easy
night's work for him.
Yeah, I agree.
But Ish came out, didn't he, in the start of the 4th round. He took the centre of the ring and he let 2 right hands go. And instead of Sam Gilley getting back on his boxing like he'd done for the first 9 minutes, he decided to trade. Ish gained confidence. Yeah. And then it took until, 10-11 for Sam Gilley to try and get back on his boxing. By that point, it had become a dogfight. Yeah. Both men were cut. Both men were tired. The way the first 9 minutes went were the way I feared the fight could go, in the sense that I thought Sam Gilley could just box on the back foot and look nice. Once Ish Davis got the bit between his teeth, he was away, wasn't he? And look, he was nearly cost on the judges' scorecards by the referee missing that knockdown in the 12th. I have to admit, I didn't know the result watching that fight back. I knew the results of the main event and the Catterall Esserman fight, but nothing else I'd seen. So when I watched that back and the knockdown was missed, I was going, shit, is this going to be a draw? Is Gilley going to get it on split? So the right man won it, and I think the scorecards are right as well. Look, there's a round in it, isn't there, either way? It was a fantastic fight. You can make an argument for Gilley winning it, but similar to you, mate, I think Ish just done enough to nick it, which after 9 minutes I wasn't expecting.
No, and I agree. I missed the knockdown, so it buffered. DAZN,
Yeah.
sort your shit out, because I wasn't streaming it. I paid $19.99 for it, and it did nothing but buffer all night. But so I missed the knockdown. I thought they were gonna give the draw. I lumped a bit of money on the draw midway through the fight. I got 12-1. I thought, there's a good chance. With it being in Tottenham and him being from Tottenham, you know how it works sometimes. I'm not calling cheats or anything like that, but I would not be surprised if we see Ishmael Davis's first defence be up north against Sam Gilly. I think Sam Gilly did everything in that fight to justify a rematch, and the way that fight went, I'd be excited to watch.
Yeah, look, Sam Gilly's been Commonwealth champion for 15 months. He was supposed to have his first defence of that Commonwealth title on the Wardley Hooney card in Ipswich in June. 10 days before the fight, his opponent falls out. He's kept on the card with an 8-rounder. And if he's being honest, and if anyone who was there is being honest, he stunk the stadium out. He was lucky to get a draw on the referee's scorecard that night. So he's had a tough 15 months. He's wearing a different Spurs shirt every day during the week, wasn't he? He was that excited to be there. Look, we'd all do it if we were fighting.
Of course we would.
Club stadium. He was all over it.
Evening Jams.
But he gave a good performance. And like Jams is saying here, I would see it again. I do think we're possibly going to see Ish get a voluntary the first half of next year, possibly see Sam Gilly winning a 10-rounder.
A Jarko, maybe.
Yeah, you can't fight for a British off a loss unless it's ordered. I don't see the board ordering it. It wasn't controversial. The knockdown wasn't in Gilly's favour.
I was thinking Commonwealth, because Commonwealth you can fight for that coming off a loss.
Yeah,
We've
you
seen
can.
a few, so I just thought they might try bundle it in, but you
never know. I mean, Ish had a fight, didn't he, 5 weeks ago on a small hall show in Derby. So he had a win, so he qualified for it. It's fantastic, the story. 30 years old, 6 kids, now a British and Commonwealth champion. And as Eddie Hearn said to him post-fight, and yes, Eddie done a lot of talking and not talking during the week, that was a chance for him to set his rest of his life for his family on the right path on Saturday night. And now let's see what we can do. We're not saying he's a world beater, but those 3 losses he had were all at short notice. Look what he can do with a proper training camp behind him. And the journey of Ishmael Davis, I think, at this British, Commonwealth, European level could be very exciting.
Yeah, I like to see the stories of redemption. Ishmael's found himself sat in prison, and, he's got kids. He's had kids when he was young, and he was destined for the wrong path, and he's now on the right side of the path. He had a few big nights and came up short, and you've got to get to a point where you think it's not going to happen for me, and it happened for him on Saturday night. So I'm excited to see. Yeah. I'm excited to see what's next for him. Right, next on the bill, probably other than the main event. This was the most disappointing fight for me. Adam Azim fighting a white collar boxer. Right, this OTX or OBX or whatever shit it's called, the American prize fighter. Right, old Scooby-Doo. Right, talk the talk, look the part, short, stocky, thick, decent record, decent power. But when you look into the people that he's fought nobody of Adam Azim's level. But what disappointed me is I thought Adam Azim could have stepped on the gas 5 rounds before he actually did. Because at one stage, me and Sam counted about 8 punches thrown in 2 rounds by Kurt Scobie. I don't know whether he just thought early on that he just couldn't win, and he was a little bit scared of Azim's power. But for me, Azim fought a punching bag on Saturday night. He fought a heavy bag, and I don't think it stands him in any good stead moving forward, other than rounds maybe. But when you're fighting at your own pace and you don't have to worry about what's coming back, then the rounds are just like shadow boxing. I mean, what's your take on that fight?
Yeah, I think, look, 2 for 2 for Shane McGuigan fighters beating up cocky club-level American fighters on the Eubank Benn cards. We obviously had it with Bill and Smith back in April. You knew after 3 minutes, didn't you? Well, you knew after Scobie said nothing during a press conference during the week, but then our security to hold him back at a face-off. I think you kind of knew then the type of caliber of American we were dealing with. Positives for Adam Azim after a really difficult year where he obviously boxed in February, was pulled off a card in the summer, and we've not seen him since. He's got 12 rounds under his belt, and he got the stoppage in the end. Yes, I agree with you. He could have come earlier in the fight, but it says a lot to go through. Okay, not a particularly ferocious 12 rounds, but still in the 12th round to carry your power to finish an opponent.
Yeah.
That is a
There is
statement to make. That's as far as the positives go. Look, this was another last-minute stand-in opponent, as we know for Adam Azim, his original opponent. Jams, I'm sure will be able to tell us in the chat, pulled out 3-4 weeks before this fight, so he's had another stand-in opponent. Adam Azim back out by February.
Has to be.
That's what I'd like to see. There's no reason for him to.
Or does he sit out and wait for the winner of Dalton Smith? The fight's been marinating for 2 years.
I'd like that to see that in the summer, mate. But again, because Adam Azim's had such an inactive 2025, I want to see him out February at the latest.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I don't know. He's got to have another fight then soon. But just coming on here, congratulations on Fabio Wardley becoming the WBA heavyweight email champion after Usyk has relinquished his strap. We've got to say that. We say it when everybody else wins them like that.
It is email, mate. No, it's email.
But he has fought, and he's fought whoever he's needed to fight. Who do you think Fabio Wardley makes his first defence against, and will it be over here? Maybe is it Fratton Park? I always think Fratton Park. Yours Portman Road. It's Fratton Park, Luton.
Fratton Park's Portsmouth.
I used to like that. It's got moon on it, hasn't it? There, Portsmouth. When they were in not Champions League, they're in Europe at one stage for winning FA Cup. Ronaldinho.
Look, I think we've known it's coming, and we knew because of the fact that WBO had ordered the winner of Parker and Wardley to fight Usyk, that this was going to come. In terms of who he fights next, I mean, there's no mandatory there's no mandatory at this time. The WBO have come out and said...
You just nearly call me Joe Joyce then. It sounded like you were about to call me Joe Joyce. I mean, I know I'm slow, but I don't think I'm that slow yet.
Look, Gassiev, Hrgovic, Ajagba, Michael Hunter's back out at York Hall in a couple of Fridays. Caballero, assuming he comes through his German defence in January, 10th of January, I think that is. Look, there's options there for him. Fabio Parker too. I mean, let's see what happens with Parker. I mean, that's the whole other situation.
They'll hammer him. They're going to hammer. If his B sample comes back, then just the simple fact that Liam Cameron's high profile and he got a 4-year ban for very similar, they're going to have to. Even if he gets a 2, I think it's done. It's curtains for him.
I think, mate. I think the reality is we'll see Fabio's first defense at the O2, probably back at the O2 March, April time next year. And
sorry to interrupt you. What about giving Derek Chisora what he wants, giving him his title shot against Fabio Wardley, all British? Fabio punches his head in for 12 rounds, but it's a big fight that people will watch. I don't like it, but
wouldn't surprise me. Unfortunately, that wouldn't surprise me.
Right, sorry, let's keep on with this card because we're getting sidetracked here. The next fight, controversial ending for me. I've been hammered on social media today for it. Jack Catterall stopped Echo Esserman. It was a horrible knockout at the end. He sort of fell through the ropes. I said to Sam that I'd actually said I were eating humble pie about 5 rounds in because Jack Catterall looked pretty good. And then he started to miss a beat for me, and I don't know whether he'll never admit this, but his body language looked like he'd been hurt and his legs had gone from underneath him because he kept sagging into the ropes and he were bothered by the cut. The clash of heads, which was accidental, it shattered Esserman's nose, and Esserman wasn't the same fighter from then. Then we get to the break. Now, I'm pretty sure the referee said break, and then Jack Catterall hits him, 3 times when he's on his knee, or once and twice when he... Either way, for me, Esserman should have got time to just get his shit back together, because you could see that he was visibly hurt from one of those shots. And then not long after, he gets knocked absolutely unconscious. Now, yes, he was fatigued, but for me, it left a bitter taste in my mouth. I'm not saying the right man didn't win and they should run it back or there should be an investigation, but I just think that the referee wasn't close enough for that or forceful enough to make the right decisions, and I think he put Echo Esserman in a little bit of a vulnerable position there. Have you got a different take on it, or am I seeing things that just didn't happen?
in that scenario, one of two things should have happened. Either the referee calls a knockdown and gives Esserman an 8 count, or he calls timeout. He tells Echo to go to the neutral corner and take time, and he either warns or docks a point from Jack Catterall.
But to do
Neither of
nothing
those
is
things
just, it's like it didn't happen.
That's almost to try and act like, oh, has anyone seen that? No, we're going to act like it's not happening. When everyone's seen it, we're going to carry on the theme with John Latham because of his scorecard from the main event. We'll come to that in a minute. There's an argument to be had there. But going back to this fight, look, Jack Catterall started like a house on fire. When have we ever said that about Jack Catterall? He got the knockdown in the 4th. Arguably could have got the finish in the 4th because that was a heavy, heavy knockdown. Didn't appreciate it at the time, but watching it back, you realise it. But then let's give Echo Esserman some props. He came back into the fight. He opened up the cut that Jack sustained against Harlan against Zinni, and that was visibly bothering Jack, just like it did during the Harlan fight. We know how much that distressed him. And you're going, okay, right, who's going to have more left down the stretch? Jack Catterall moved through the gears again and got the stoppage. But look, did he get the stoppage because Echo Esserman was still suffering from the shot he'd taken when he shouldn't have taken it, if that makes sense, without being given a recovery time? Not taking anything away from the finish, not saying Jack Catterall doesn't deserve his victory, but that whole, it's just messy. It's a messy part of the fight. You know, you go back to Usyk Zabrze, the first fight in Poland, where that punch the low blow punch. We're not going to go into all of that again, but Pabon gave Usyk the full 5 minutes to recover. Even if Echo Esserman said after
just offer it, and then the controversy's done. I don't know the rules as such, but I've watched enough boxing to know that if there's an incident like that, then at the very least separate them both, let them get the bearings, give you warnings out, time back in, and off we go. Even that, but he didn't do any of that. And then the way Esserman got slept after that, because I think he got hurt by one of those shots. I believe that he got hurt by one of those shots, with the
third one. You look at the way he goes into himself and the third of those shots that gets landed, you could tell he was hurt.
Yeah. So for me, it left a bit of taste in my mouth. But look, the right man won. But what I will say from this is I do not believe that this is the second coming of Jack Catterall. I don't believe that Jack Catterall is the same fighter that we saw put a masterclass on Josh Taylor the first time and get robbed. Easily beat Josh Taylor the second time in a decent fight. Have beat Prograis pretty comfortably. Have a war with Barbosa. Not a war, but have a pretty decent fight with Barbosa. Now, this is going to sound like a backhanded compliment, or I'm being disrespectful to Esserman, because we're both fans of Esserman, and we both actually picked him. I actually picked him to beat Catterall, and I'd picked him to beat Josh Taylor. I rate him. I just think he's strong. He's got an engine. It's no pun intended. That's actually his nickname, isn't it? The Engine, I believe. Echo, is it? The Engine or Energy or something like that. But I don't believe that Esserman's world level. I think he's fringe European, British, decent, very good domestic fighter. And I think the fact that Jack Catterall had a war with him, because he did, and we don't know what Esserman would have been like if he hadn't got his nose splattered across his face. Yes, it was accidental, but it happened, and it affected him. He was dabbing it. He was breathing. It was bleeding a lot. Exactly. You've just said here, Jams, exactly what I said and what we said. I don't think that Bozy Ennis has done anything other than be lucky that his son's really good, so he trains his kid. But I think I could train Jaron Ennis because he's just naturally skilled. I think I could train Andre Ward, for example. You get these type of fighters that are naturally gifted, teach them some of the fundamentals and a bit of tactics, but Jack's too long in the tooth and he's got too much good going for him to completely change that, to change his style. It just won't work for him. I don't believe he looked any better than he's ever looked the other night. Other than he was a little bit more aggressive, but I think Esserman played into that for him. What do you think's next for El Gato?
Well, it was said in the build-up to the fight that it will be mandated for the winner of Catterall and Esserman to fight the winner of Norman and Haney this weekend. So if that is done how it should be done, then Jack Catterall gets the winner of Saturday night.
I mean, great fight. He'll take it.
Of course he will.
I don't see him winning either of those fights for me. I think Haney...
I'd give him a better chance against Norman than I do against Haney.
Do you think?
Haney against Cat...
I think Norman's power, it would be the worrying factor for me, and I think Haney easily outboxes him.
Look, Haney easily outboxes him, but it's a snore-a-thon.
Yeah.
They're both low output. Yeah. It probably looks a bit like Haney's outing did in Times Square in May. Norman, I think, would bring the best out of Jack because he knows the power is there. He probably would want to step into the fire a bit more. He would want to show his boxing. I didn't think about
it like that.
I think it will bring the best out of him, Norman Jr. And for as powerful as Norman Jr. looks, there is vulnerabilities there. With Devin Haney, if Devin Haney gets on his boxing, you know, Jack Catterall and very few people touch him.
Jams, I'd like to see him versus Arnold Barbosa again at 147. As Norman Jr. and Haney absolutely blow him away. I think either Haney or Norman beats him. I think Barbosa beats him again at 147. I think he's done at world level. I do, and I sound so.
You said this for a while, mate.
Yeah, I sound so disrespectful, and I don't mean it like that. I just mean on the eye test for me. Jack Catterall 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever, beats Echo Esserman either 12-0, 11-1, 10-2, or stops him late like he did because he presses him later, but he'd have been 6 or 7 rounds in front. I think he made the hard work of that fight. And again, it sounds like I'm being disrespectful to Echo, but I know what I see with Echo. He's tough. He's got great cardio, but his skill set's very limited. Very, very limited. And I think Catterall of old would have won that fight a lot more comfortably than he did. I think the stoppage glosses over a lot of the bad stuff that we saw in that fight. He was getting caught a heck of a lot.
Yeah, I agree, mate, but also you got to take advantage of the fact or pay homage to the fact we've never seen Jack Catterall look that aggressive.
No, you got to take the positives, I suppose.
You know, one change that has been made, because if we're being honest, going down the stretch of that fight, you're getting into the realms possibility of thinking, could we end up with a draw here on the scorecards, which obviously is the prediction I made, but also isn't too far-fetched because of the pattern that fight had taken. He sort of found that power again. Would the stoppage have come without the mistake from the referee? That's open to debate. However, he has his opponent hurt and he finished him. And that killer instinct is something we've not, associated with Jack Catterall at any point in his career.
No, I agree. And I'd just like to say it was great to see Echo Esserman back up on his feet at the end. It was a scary couple of minutes, especially on this card, with everything that Benn and Eubank Senior have been through and stuff like that. So it was good to see. Right then, we'll go into the main event, shall we? We'll take you to the candy shop. See how many 50-cent fucking cringy analogies I can get in. Best part about the fight was probably the ring walk with 50 Cent turning up 750 grand, allegedly, that he got paid by Turkey. I don't know whether that's true. I doubt that. I mean, that seems a heck of a lot of money. They could have got me for way less than that. I mean, I can't rap. I struggle to rap presents, but I'd have done it. Just give me a mic, man. Look, we said I picked Chris Eubank to win again, but I did caveat it with depending on what he's got left. I think I actually said that I'd know within a minute or two of the first round what kind of fight we were going to get. Me and Sam said it straight away. Eubank Jr. did not turn up. And when I say didn't turn up, he wasn't there to turn up. Everything he had within him, he left either on the scales or in camp. I'm not making an excuse for him. I'm just telling you how it is. At 36, he needs to be at 168. If that had been at 168, he would have blasted through Conor Benn. Obviously, because Conor's way smaller, but he's a better boxer. He just didn't have anything in the tank. Some of the punches that he threw were... I was shocked that he was even wasting his energy throwing them because he was just literally sticking his hand out. And he just was there to be hit all night. He just couldn't get out of the way of anything. And we saw towards the end of the fight, it took him everything he had just to stay on his feet. I don't think we take anything from it. I didn't take anything from it in terms of Benn calling everybody out at 147. He will get murdered at 147 by some of the names he's talking. Ryan Garcia will knock Conor Benn into next week. But you can only beat who's in front of you, and Eubank talked the talk, and unfortunately could no longer walk the walk. I would be glad to see Eubank Jr. sail off into the sunset. and happily see Benn jump the queue and go in with them all at 147. Line them up and let them knock him over. What's your take on the fight, Liam?
Look, as I've already hinted at, I finished work and the first thing I saw was the scorecard. So I put a message on the chat saying, what the hell? This isn't the fight we were expecting. Watched it on the train home, and we both said similar in the week, didn't we? We both picked Chris Eubank Jr., but we both said we're going to know within 3-6 minutes what he's got left and what type of fight we're going to get. And by the end of round 2,
it was hard to watch for me.
Yeah, mate, it was hard to watch, and it reminded me a bit of when Chris himself fought James DeGale. The second time he won the IBO world
Sam
title.
Said that on the broadcast, and it reminded me of when his dad fought Carl Thompson. He was too heavy, and he was just getting clumped around the ring. Now this fight here, I thought this was the fight for Junior if he won. I don't think they'll take it with him coming off a loss. I don't think Canelo would take it, but I'd watch it. But
we'd watch it, wouldn't we? But no, going back to the fight, I think it's the first time, and Conor Benn's already said this, so we're not, discrediting him too much. It's the first time in his career the game plan that he's been given by Tony Sims he's actually stuck to. He's actually been disciplined. He's not got drawn into a brawl or anything like that. And he boxed to orders, didn't he? Look, he could have got that stoppage if he wanted to, any time from 7 or 8, couldn't he? Because of what state Eubank Jr. was in. But he stayed on the game plan. And yes, he got the knockdowns in the last couple of rounds. But by that point, Eubank Jr. was just hanging on for the bell, wasn't he? Eubank knew he wasn't going to win. He knew he wasn't there. And it was just about for him staying on his feet. What do we take from the fight? The Benns finally have a victory over the Eubanks. It's only taken 30 years, but there's finally something on the board for him.
Yeah.
I say slightly tongue-in-cheek. We don't need to see a trilogy.
No, please, God, no.
And I'm actually glad, because I did think with how hyped up Conor Benn was, he was going to say, let's finish this, let's make it 2-1. I'm really glad he shut it down and said, no, for me, it's closed.
Yeah, and I did like the fact that they embraced at the end. And do you know what? For all the shit that people say about Eubank Jr., he's grown on me and he's never changed, which is what I like. And I like the fact that he wouldn't make excuses, even though we all knew what could be said and probably should have been said. His ego isn't fragile. Isn't that fragile that he said, look, it's not about me. Conor's tough. Conor boxed well. I didn't have much to offer, and he beat me. And, after all these have been through, for him to be big enough and man enough to say that afterwards, I respect him even more so now. And not that makes any difference to him, but for me, I saw something in Chris Eubank. I thought, do you know what? I like that. It reminded me of when Conor McGregor got beat by Nate Diaz and he just came out and fronted it. After all the shit talk that they do, usually expect him to hide somewhere. And he just fronted it, did Junior. So, I'd like to see Junior either have the Billy Joe Saunders rematch, because I think that is a fight that, Billy's coming off the couch, would need to lose about 10 stone, and I'm not exaggerating. And I think, I wouldn't worry for Chris in a fight like that, but the state of him at the weekend, I'd be happy to see him sail off into the sunset and, just be a father. We know he's got twin boys and, made a decent amount of money to be able to pay off Neymar and still have some left. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Conor Benn, he won't go to 154. There's too many sharks and too many killers hanging around there. He'll go back down to 47. There's one name he didn't mention last night, and it's because it's not the sexy name. And you know the name I'm going to say. He didn't mention Lewis Crocker, did he? Who is a world champion. But he was happy to mention Barrios.
I want them all at 147, and he named them all bar the closest and easiest fight to make.
Yeah, so look, I could quite happily see him fighting Lewis Crocker.
Absolutely. I think Crocker came straight out and said, I'm here.
Yeah, he did. That's what I mean. He said, I'm here. And he said, you mentioned all these names, but you didn't mention me, one of only 2 British male world champions at this time who haven't named me. So there's options there. Barrios is probably the most winnable out of all of them for him. Barrios and Crocker are probably the 2 most winnable. But yeah, let's see what happens. The interesting thing for Conor Benn is, although 160 isn't his natural weight, he's not had to make 147 since what, 2019?
It's a while.
2020?
4 years at least.
Yeah, no, 2021.
4
Sorry,
years.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah, been a long time. So, and your body develops the muscle mass and it gets used to sitting at a
Is he going to
higher
be able
weight.
to
He
make
says he's not gonna-
147? It's a question for me.
He said he's not going to need any sweatsuits or saunas to make 147. So that's, that's him setting himself up for a failure.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a weight miss then, aren't we? He's going to have a tune-up or a lower level fight just to test him. There's no way he's going to go from 160 to 147. I mean, he don't deserve a world title shot anyway, but he'd get one. He'd get a voluntary just on name alone. But yeah, I mean, where do you sit on Eubank? Would you like to see him continue, or would you prefer to see him hang it up?
Retire, mate. I mean, what you saw in there on Saturday night tells me that even if he goes up to 168, it's not going to be there. And because of if he fights a natural 168-pound fighter, he gets stopped, and then you're getting worried, if that makes sense. There was nothing in that fight, was there, on Saturday? It makes you go, oh, okay, so put him back up at 168 and he'll be able to have a fight. You just want to see him retired and protected from himself. And look, with both his and his dad's history of having fighters they've boxed suffer injuries, that have shaped and molded their lives, hopefully it's not something that should take too much persuasion for him.
No, and do you know what everybody seems to have forgotten, glossed over? Senior was right all along.
Yes.
Right from back in... He said it in the first fight, and he reinforced it and reiterated it again in the lead up to the second fight, that the only reason he's here is because it's his son, and he'll support his son, irrespective of what anybody thinks. He hasn't been paid, he didn't get paid, and he didn't want Chris to take it. It's dangerous for Chris. Chris is depleting himself too much, and he was lucky to come through the first one. He was right all along. So for me, call it a day unless you're going to take I hate saying this, but a winnable fight. That's why I suggested Billy Joe, because Billy Joe's coming off the couch, but I think Billy Joe off the couch beats Eubank Jr. of last night. But anyway, so that was London. That was Spurs doing Spursy things, arse dropping out at the last minute. MSG, Madison Square Gardens. It usually has big cards, big nights. They're very rarely just they don't have fight nights there. There's always Conor opened it against Eddie Alvarez, I believe. That was the
that was the very first one. First Woodley Wonderboy fight.
MSG. They're the only MMA fights I've ever won on draws. Was Woodley and Wonderboy 66-1. I got.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, I'll touch on the prelims. Bo Nickel got an absolutely fantastic win. I know everyone's going on about the head kick, but he was actually beating him up and showed a different side to his game. Didn't go for the takedown, used his striking and finished it with a head kick. Who would you like to see Bo Nickel fight next?
It's difficult, isn't it, with Bo Nickel? Because he got moved at a fast speed, didn't he, into the Josh Emmett fight, which I know is coming up to 2 years ago, but Emmett absolutely wasn't Josh
Emmett. He's a little bit spoiled. It was Reiner de Ridder.
Right, so yeah, I'm slightly off there, but he got
mixed them two up.
He got exposed, didn't he, a bit? We saw it was a level too soon for him. I wouldn't mind seeing someone either just top 15 or on the fringe of the top 15. There's
Jack Hermanson, someone like that.
Possibly, maybe. Mate. That's not a bad opponent. But again, it will be another... Bo Nickel doesn't need to be front and centre on, third slot on a pay-per-view main card. Or
no, he was good where he was. Either the
prelims or somewhere low on a fight night card. That's what we need with Bo at the moment. He doesn't need any external pressure, does he?
No. Benoit Saint-Denis. Wow. What can we say about Benoit Saint-Denis? I mean, Beneil Dariush, look, he's been an MMA professional. He's been at UFC, I think, way over 10 years. I think it's his 16th year as a pro.
Yeah.
Benoit Saint-Denis is younger, but less miles on the clock. He's fairly new to MMA. Popular in France. I mean, the crowd when he fought in France was absolutely unreal. He'd come off a couple of tricky losses and then wins, and he didn't even look like he hit Beneil with full power. He sort of just clipped him with it, but just left him face down, ass up. What do you think's next for both?
Look, a fight like that is always difficult because when it's over so quickly, it's like, okay, so one guy's absolutely flatlined, the other guy. I think Saint-Denis one last roll of the dice, isn't it? Looking at possibly getting himself back in towards the top 5. I think you're looking at another fight to move him up the rankings. If you're Dariush, is that time for him in the UFC? I know it's harsh to say, but
I think so. I don't think so. Beneil, it's sort of his second run, even though he's never been cut, he sort of went down and then got himself back up again. But I think reality's got to hit at some stage. He's not, if he's getting knocked out in less than a minute by Benoit Saint-Denis, no disrespect to him, but he's just breaking into the top 10 and he got absolutely slept by him. I don't think Beneil, I think he's coming off 3 knockdowns. I don't want to say this, but is he getting into the realms of the sort of Tony Ferguson?
It's the first thought I
stage.
had when I saw it, yeah.
I'd like to see Beneil walk away with his faculties intact. I don't want to see him start getting beaten up just as a Jeremy Stevens type name, Neil Magny type. I just not in lightweight and welterweight. They're not the type of divisions where you can be half-assed. You'll get fucking eaten up. Them 2 divisions are just shark after shark after shark. I know there's no easy matches in any of the divisions, but the 2 divisions for me that are hottest at the moment. I mean, 4 of the top 5 welterweights were on that card, and there's a lot of lightweights that are just as good, if not better than Beneil Dariush. I can't see him getting many wins in the top 15. So for me, I'd like to see him call it a day. I'd like to see Benoit Saint-Denis maybe fight the winner of this weekend's matchup. The loser, of this weekend's matchup.
Yeah.
Saruki and Dan Hooker. So it's probably going to be Dan Hooker. You would expect. You would expect.
Hooker and Saint-Denis would be a good fight. I think Sarukian should have too much for Dan Hooker, but never write off Dan Hooker.
No. He's got the detonator, hasn't he? When and he's a dog. I mean that Poirier fight is one of my favourite fights to watch. How he didn't get stopped in every single round until he did get stopped is unreal. The guy is tough as teak.
I don't think he knows either.
No, so I'd like to see Benoit in that kind of fight. What was the next fight on the card?
Edwards and Pratis.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that. That upset me. It upset me because Leon started so well, but you could see Pratis just didn't give a shit for anything he was doing to him. Just didn't care for it.
It was coming. If you watch, and again, it's it's not something I want to talk about a lot either, but let's get into it. If you watch Pratis, he's lining up that shot for a good 2 minutes before it comes. He's feinting it. He's waiting for the right moment. Yeah, look, Leon Edwards went unbeaten for so long. There was 5 prime ministers in the UK. There was 8 different generations of iPhones. You know what I'm getting at? He had such a good run and had to wait so long for his shot. He got the moment of all moments in Salt Lake City. He got the fairy tale. I know it wasn't in Birmingham, but it was in London, of retaining the title in the UK. And now he's 0-3. He got completely out-grappled by, what's his name? Bilal Muhammad. That wasn't me
Muhammad.
Not forgetting him like he is forgettable, but couldn't remember his name.
Remember the name.
He got submitted earlier this year at UFC in London. By Brady, a last-minute stand-in Brady as well. I know Brady was in training camp for a fight, but that was still another 6 weeks away. He jumped in it.
Who was he meant to fight? Who was he gonna fight that night?
Della Maddalena. Then Maddalena got the title shot.
Yeah.
And then obviously now this with Pratis. And yes, he started well and he was answering some of the questions because we watched the Brady fight, didn't we? The 3 of us, and we thought Leon looked, as we just spoken about with you,
shell shot.
Looked like he had nothing left. But he started the first 5 minutes. Look, it's possibly the first round he's won since round 1 against Bilal. And that's not an exaggeration either, is it, to say that?
No.
That's good. Look, anyone can get iced in the UFC. It's just the way it goes. Sometimes you just get iced. But 0-3 now, at the age he's at, how much he had to give for so long to get a title shot, I don't think I'd be overly adverse to seeing Leon Edwards stepping away.
Just let him go. Let him go to PFL. He needs to go to a His brother's a champion in PFL. I think his brother's he's not the champion. They do like tournaments, don't they? I think his brother's the
He won the
middleweight.
last tournament, didn't he?
Yeah. But for me, the UFC don't like him. Dana does not like Leon Edwards, or the brasses don't like Leon Edwards. It's blatantly obvious. They've even when he was the champion, he was a bit like Henry. Dan, I'm going to block you. Go away with nonsense. I don't want to talk about it because it's put me in a horrible position where I will have to cheer for AJ, and I never thought I'd hear myself say that. You guys know how I feel about Femi. Not keen, but we're going to come to that towards the end. But I would see if they can negotiate an exit for Leon. And I think he could do all right in the PFL. I think he could go over to PFL. He could have 2 or 3 fights to get his confidence back. I don't think he wants to go out like that on his back with his eyes open. I'd like to see him get a winnable fight, but unless he fights someone like Wonderboy, then I can't see many winnable fights for him. And you know what the UFC will do? They'll throw him in with someone like Michael Moraes or someone like that and get him knocked out again. So for me, I'd like to see Leon sail off into the sunset. Prates, I'd like to see fight Morales. That's who I'd like to see them two. Because, yes, Mitch, Shavkat is the heir apparent. But I think if Ian Gary beats Bilal at the weekend, which I think he will, then I think Gary's next in line to fight Islam. Rest in peace, Ian Gary. But look, it is what it is. So I'd like to see Morales and Prates fight in like a fight off a number 1 contender.
That's a fight night main event 5-rounder. That's the sort of fight that deserves to be a 5-rounder. Just going back to Leon one more time. I wasn't just talking about him stepping away from the UFC. I wouldn't be adverse to seeing him retiring, mate.
No, me neither. But I don't think he will. I think what is he? 34.
30. Leon Edwards is 34. Yeah, 34 in August. He was.
Good evening, Dan. Thanks for joining us eventually. Yes, we do. If you'd have watched us about 25 minutes ago, you'd have heard us talking about it. Only joking, brother. Thanks for joining us, bro. Hope you're well.
It's 34, Leon. So, yeah, I agree. He probably does still have more fights left in him, but it's about, does he want to step away to the PFL? Is it what he wants to do? Look, you can question a lot of things about Leon Edwards, and I think after the 8 years it took him to get to a title shot, perhaps that fire isn't burning anymore, and perhaps that fire will never burn in the same way again. And once that fire stops burning, it's better to step away, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And he's made some good money.
Yeah.
It's just, going out on a loss. I know how it feels. I mean, my amateur career was, I got whooped and had to go out on a loss, and it burnt me for a while. I did contemplate coming back to try and get it back, but I knew I'd probably get beat again, so I didn't. I'm not putting myself up there with Leon Edwards. I'm joking when I say, well, no, I'm not joking about what happened, but I'm joking, as if I know how Leon Edwards feels. But I just think it might irk him going out like that without one more, but I don't want to see him in the UFC because I think they'll just throw him to the wolves again. Yeah. I really do. I think they'll throw him to another killer and he'll get hurt. I think what Leon needs to do first is go to Turkey, right? And fill that fucking bald patch in Leon. Because whoever's not telling you about that, every time he fights, I think, right, he must have had it. Nope, there it is. There it is. I mean, he's either not bothered or no one's got the balls to tell him. But Leon, I'm telling you now, mate, from one baldy to another, get it filled in. Do the Eubank. Get it. Because Eubank's got his tattooed in, hasn't he, I think? Anyway, was it Morales? Was he the next fight? Morales and Robocop.
Brady.
Was it Robocop?
Yeah, Sean Brady. Sean Brady and Morales was the next one.
Sorry, Brady. He beat the dog shit out of Sean Brady. He is so powerful.
Most conclusive performance of the night, bar the main event for me.
He's got a weird stance as well. So who called him Raheem Sterling? I think it was Nick Pete. Because you know how Sterling sticks his bum out and has his hands weird for that run?
Like a little T-Rex.
He sort of fights with his bum stuck out, his feet wide, and then upright. It's just, you can't hit him and he's that long. Brady couldn't get anywhere. Brady was not in that fight.
No.
Brady was never in that fight. He is so powerful. Just a quick one, Dan. Absolutely not. Paddy's ready to go. He's in Qatar with Shem and Luke Riley at the moment. It looks trim. It looks slim. Apparently, he signed his side of it. and Topuria is hanging around. I think Topuria was waiting to see what happened this weekend.
Yeah, which is,
I think
look, the champion.
it's understandable. I think we'll see it summer next year for me. Just going back to Brady, I mean, yeah, he was never in that fight for me. He looked tentative, didn't look confident. He got hold of Morales at one stage, and Morales just sort of shrugged him off.
Worst thing you could have done. Worst thing you could have done was get hold of Morales, because after that, Morales went, right, okay, let's finish it. And within the next 60 seconds, it was over.
Who do you see beating Morales? What type of fighter? Do you think Shavkat and them will just ragdoll him? Or
Like you just said it, Shavkat is the type of fighter that beats him. We know he's good in stand-up exchanges. Brady tried to take it to the ground, but it was a half-hearted attempt. He was almost saying, shit, I'm getting battered on my feet here. Let's try this. But it wasn't fully committed. Anyone that's got any sort of grappling presence will ragdoll him around and probably beat him in quite a boring fight, because if he's on his feet, he wins, doesn't he, Morales?
Yeah. They reckon he's taken over Cheeto's mantle in is Ecuador, in it? Ecuador. They reckon he's an absolute superstar. So I think the UFC are going to try get him to the point where he fights for a title. I think he beats Pratis. I think he knocks Pratis out. I think we saw holes in Pratis' game against Ian Gary, who himself is probably a better technical striker than Morales. Doesn't hit anywhere near as hard. I think Morales could box. I think he's got a really good boxing fundamentals. And I think they'll stand him in good stead until he gets to a point where the likes of Shavkat and Islam and those guys that can actually strike, take a shot and wrestle. But look, I'm excited to see what the future is, but I hope they make the Pratis fight. I'd love to see that as like a fight off for the title shot after Gary.
As he wins. As we've already touched on, what's happening with the title sewn up, so it's about securing what goes on below it, and you still need fight night main events. Look, these numbered cards are obviously the UFC's bread and butter, but even with the move over to Paramount, you still need good main events for the fight nights, and that's a fight that deserves 5 rounds. How many times do you see a 3-round fight and you want to see the extra 10 minutes? That's a fight that's too good to be anything but 25 minutes.
No, I agree. Right then, I mean, what more can we say about Valentina Shevchenko? I mean, she's the second/third greatest female fighter of all time for me. I don't think her body of work's better than Nunes's. Nunes has beat her. Arguably, she won the second Nunes fight, you could say. But she's beat pretty much everybody. I think 135 is too big for her. And I think she showed that, similar to Weili Zhang last night, on Saturday night, that 10 pounds between 115, 125, it's a big jump. And I think that fight would have been different if they'd have both been the same size, but they weren't. And Valentina just dealt with it and also showed that she's an elite grappler. She wasn't, but she fucking is now.
Too big, too strong, too skillful within the film. You could tell by which way it was going to go, couldn't you? And
yeah,
that's, Weili is a phenomenon at 115, but it's too much of a bridge to 125. And we need to see that challenge, because for Valentina, there isn't really anyone around, is there? She's lapped the field. She's beaten them all. So we all said, okay, look, we think we know what's going to happen here. We need to see the challenge. Valentina doing Valentina things. What does she do next? Because in the field, and she's not big enough.
I think she'll retire soon.
Yeah, what we saw happen to Weili last night would happen to her potentially up at 135 against a biggest.
Well, she fought Amanda, didn't she? She fought Amanda at 130. Didn't she fight Amanda at 135?
Yeah, but even if she went up again now, is what I'm saying. It's the same.
She's not big enough. She's not big enough. Do you know who I feel sorry for out of this fight? Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah.
Because Weili Zhang's just going to go straight back down. I think Mackenzie Dern will fight. I think Mackenzie Dern has got a fight lined up, or there is a fight lined up for her.
February or March, I've heard, but I can't, again,
and the name has Gillian Robertson. Now, I think Gillian Robertson is a good fight because they're both jiu-jitsu black belts. Gillian Robertson is underrated. She's under Din Thomas. I think a lot of people. She was in the original. I think she was in the original Ultimate Fighter that what's her name won. I always think it's Tisha Torres, but not Tisha Torres. The other. She was the champion. She beat what the hell's her name? There was Rose Namajunas. There was that was before she got groomed by Pat Barrett allegedly. Tisha Torres. Oh, what's her flipping name? She's 1 second. Who won the original Ultimate Fighter females? Nah, not Juliana Pena. It must have been the second one then. You'll know what I mean. She's the Cookie Monster. The Cookie Monster. Female UFC fighter, the Cookie Monster. Carla Esparza. How the fuck could I remember her nickname and not her actual name? Anyway, look. Weili Zhang needs to move back down. It's obvious she's too small in stature and size for 125. I think I wouldn't be averse to seeing Valentina just hang it up. Hang it up, man. She's what, 36 or something now? She's knocking on now. She must want to just do something else with her life. I mean, she's fought since she was a baby. I think her parents both fight. Her sister fights. She fights. And they get to the point where they go on too long. A bit like Holly Holm. Holly Holm's like in her 40s and she's getting beat by girls that wouldn't have laced her boots 5 years ago. It was great to see Valentina get the props that other than Amanda, that she's probably the greatest UFC fighter of all time. She eclipses anything Ronda's done. I think she's had 9 defenses.
Oh, that happened a long time ago for me, mate. Eclipsing what Ronda's done. Don't get me wrong, Ronda's an absolute trailblazer, but
pioneer. But in terms of fight skill, she's nowhere near these girls. Nowhere near. So yeah, I don't know what it is for Valentina. She don't want to lap the division again. Furo was meant to be the next big thing, and she just dealt with her. She's dealt with them all. So I'd like to see her maybe take some time off, unless she wants to go for DJ and Anderson Silva's record, which I think is 12. Is it 12 defenses?
12, 12 defenses.
And then Mackenzie Dern has got a fight. I can't remember who against. And then Weili gets a title shot. I think she deserves a title shot.
Weili gets the belt back in August.
I think so. She's probably the best in that division. She lost the belt on a random head kick, didn't she, against Rose, but won it back. That was
at MSG as well.
Yeah. Main event time. I mean, Hamzat Drikas comes to mind for me. I mean, Jack did show some good takedown defense and created some decent scrambles, but you could see that as soon as the way Islam got that first takedown off the single leg, I thought, damn, you're in trouble if he gets your hips. And by the time Jack is thinking about defending the takedown, Islam's already got you. And he looks every pound of 170. He doesn't look like he's ballooned up. I'm thinking, how the hell did he make 155? How the heck did he get down to 155? Because he is a big dude. And I worried about how he'd take the power. He took a couple of Jack shots on the whiskers and it didn't even bother him. And he just ragdolled him. He smashed him like him and Habib have always done. There's very, very rarely any. I think Conor gave Habib one of his toughest fights, took a round off him. But I think Habib was playing with his food. I mean, what's next for Islam? I mean, there's a queue of guys for him, but who do you think gives him the best fight? Can I tell you who I think gives him the best fight out of all of them? Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, the awkwardness of Kamaru Usman and the fact that he will be able to compete on the grounds. Mate, I think, look, first of all, that main event went how 95% of people expected it, but hoped it wouldn't go. You know, and again, similar to what we saw with Drickus and Islam not so long ago. It's difficult to know what to say because you appreciate it and you enjoy it, but at the same time, it's always obvious very early on when you've got one guy that's superior on the ground and another one that's just, you know, he's got a better skill set than you or I, but he's just not in the same ballpark as the other guy. And that's unfortunately what we saw again on Saturday night. Soon as, you know, he felt a couple of punches from Jack, didn't he, in the first 90 seconds or so, and again at the start of the second round, and then he from there decided, okay, there's a little bit of something there. I don't want to stay in the pocket for too long. And you knew every round once the takedowns came, when he got himself into position, that was him set. Could we have seen a finish? That's the
I thought he'd get a sub. I really did.
That's possibly the only thing missing because, you know, I think if he really stuck it on Jack, I don't think the defense was there, especially a submission defense. He's doing enough to keep him at bay, but if he really wanted it, I think he could have got a finish to cement his legacy. Well, so not his legacy, but cement his performance, definitely.
So what do you think's next for both before we wrap up this evening's show?
I'd like to see Kamaru getting the shot at the champ, but I just don't know what Dane is thinking with the welterweight.
It'd be shit. Look, we don't know where Shavkat is. He got an injury, but surely this injury's got to be close to healing now. And if it is, then other than the winner from Qatar at the weekend, which is Bilal Muhammad and Ian Gary, but if Bilal Muhammad wins that fight, then that fight's difficult to make. They're under the same management. They were training with each other last year. Will they make that fight? I mean, money
does
talks.
No paper, does no ticket sales or buys.
No one's going to want to watch that. I mean, Islam himself is a decent draw. Bilal's not. Nobody wants to see Bilal fight. And that's no disrespect to Bilal. He's just not got that personality or that style. Ian Gary, you've got the Conor Habib narrative as such. He's Irish and Habib's.
You want to go back to that? Yeah.
Yeah, they'll drag it out. And not for me. I'm not.
No. Not yet.
But that's the narrative they can go with. Or there's Prates, Morales, Usman. For me, I'd like
Morales go the same way as Jack did on Saturday night. Sorry, mate.
Beats them up, drags them, ragdolls them.
Ian Gary is competent, but I think over time he might be in it for 10 minutes or so, but down the stretch he get found out. Usman, despite Usman's age and despite where he's at in his career,
he's wrestling, man.
Toughest fight.
He's wrestling. Sorry, just going back. Do you know what I think they might do with Leon Edwards? I've just remembered. Fucking Masvidal. That's the fight that they'll make.
Get about that 3-piece.
Yeah. Because I think they missed the boat there. Anyway, what do you think's next for Jack Della Maddalena? Do you think he'll get a top 5, or do you think they'll ease him back in?
Top 5. He'll want a top 5. You know, look, he won the belt when he probably wasn't expected to win the belt, if we're being really honest. But gave a fantastic performance, and you know, there's no discredit in losing to someone that's going to go down and will be a UFC Hall of Famer in the years to come. There's no discredit to it, but it's about how he comes back from it. And coming back in against a top 5 ranked opponent is the best thing that can happen for him early next year.
Absolutely. Anything else you'd like to add on the weekend's fight cards, or anything you're excited for coming up?
Mate, Qatar this weekend has the potential to be one of the UFC events of the year, doesn't it? It's a phenomenal.
What a card. Let's just say we've got British interest in this card. So obviously there's an Irishman at the top, but Luke Riley, if anybody hasn't seen him, he's out of Paddy Pimlet's gym. I saw him first in Cage Warriors. He was a co-main event, Christian Leroy Duncan in Cage Warriors Manchester. The kid is an absolute animal. Very much in the same vein as Paddy, but he can hit really hard. Okay. And then my mate Shamrock is fighting. Anybody that knows Shem, he's got a very good following. His backstory is mental. He got accused of something he didn't do. He went on the run for 10 years, learned how to fight, learned how to grapple, do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's been sleeping people in Octagon. Got signed to the UFC. Octagon turned all weird. Did you see that? The owner of Octagon was slagging him off. It is fucking hell. But he's got a tough fight. But look, we've got Kamaru Qatar's on UK time, so we will be able to watch that and then switch straight over for Anthony Yard versus Benavides. I watched the face-off today. We've got Bam Rodriguez. Oh, that card is
Lions and
stacked. We've got Haney. We've got
That's a
Bam.
card. That ring
Mate,
4 cards.
it's
A Night
one
of
of the
Champions is probably one of the best named Saudi cards because it is a Night of Champions. It's phenomenal.
To be fair though, the UFC and the boxing that night, it's top draw all the way through. So I'm really looking forward to that. We are covering it. I don't know. Are you working or are you covering the fights?
I'm working. I probably missed the UFC, but be around for the boxing because of the way the times are looking.
Okay, so we will see you there. So thank you everybody that's joined. Dan, Mitch, Jams over at Red Corner Boxing, Luca, anybody else that's joined us, thank you very much. Liam, LT Sweet Boxing Science. If you're not following Liam, give him a follow. He does his own prediction shows. He does No Punches Pulled with myself and Sam. And obviously we do Straight Talk. You will see more of us in the coming weeks. As always, I'm your host, Jay's Fight Talk. Liam, thank you very much. We'll see you soon.